Okay, Charlie, and hello, Andrea. And okay, so I'm going to go with Charlie's question first. I'm going to read the others after. Ryan Searle, oh my God. What a pleasant surprise. Ryan Searle is a friend that goes way back. Oh, man. Okay, Charlie Haskins. Can you expand on this idea from yesterday's video about working with God? Ha. Okay, all right. Um, Working with God. I said in a video that I made yesterday that I just posted today for anybody that wasn't aware. This actually, well, I'm going to show it to you. This came through in a deep exploration, and I just jotted it down so quickly, like this scribbled nonsense here. And it was just, I just had to jot it down really quickly. And so this came about because I was exploring this idea of how to be. And I just was just having a conversation just then about this, like, what is the right way to be? And, I've always kind of understood intuitively that there is no one right way. All paths lead to truth. I even like the phrase, there's no not going home. Whatever you do in life, you are headed back to the oneness, back to your true home, the unification with God, with divinity, however you want to phrase it. Just the full awareness of what is. So, expanding on that idea of whatever you do, do it with God. That was my phrasing. Whatever you do, do it with God. So this was something that I wanted to find for some friends who were um, dealing with this idea of what is the right way to be, so to speak. But then it's also for me as well. And what came through to me very strongly: whatever you do it with God. How did I mean that? It was so strong when it came through, and sometimes it's difficult to bring it back around. But whatever I do it with God. I guess right away, it's it holds the intention of unification. It holds the intention of finding what is true, whatever I'm doing. So there's these two paths I was exploring, and I was witnessing others explore. And one is, I think they're often referred to as like the direct path and the indirect path. So the direct path is something that I've heard, who was it? Ramana Maharshi speak a lot about, which is the self inquiry. Basically, using your mind to point itself backwards and witness itself. It's a questioning of who and what you are, what you think, what you believe, so consistently that you have such a deep understanding of your own being that whatever is false, whatever is created in the mind, whatever is a product of the mind does not last. It cannot last in the constant awareness of its own self. So it's kind of like this idea that once you look at it, it disappears. And that's the direct path, to look at oneself in such a direct way, in self-inquiry and self-observation, that whatever is out of alignment with truth, whatever doesn't have legs to stand on for itself, becomes exposed. And so this is often done by people who like live in ashrams, like monks and ascetics. They just let go of everything and they just witness themselves fully. They don't engage in what we would refer to as identity or story. They don't see themselves as a separate being. And so they don't allow themselves to have stories build in their lives of what is good and what is bad and what is preferable. In the Bhagavad Gita, it talks about the path of yoga, or the path of the wise man, is to be indifferent to both pleasure and pain, hot and cold. So there is a level, a state of being, you might say, where we can rise to this level of consciousness of full awareness of what is, being that everything is energy, that both hot and cold are of equal energy to you. They are of equal value. You do not have a preference to either. It's a state of being that goes beyond the duality. It's the middle way, so to speak. You reside in the middle where everything's created, and it's the pure potential. It's just pure nothing space. And in that pure nothing space, there's no being to have a preference. So somebody I know was engaging with this possibility of walking that path. And another person I know was engaging with the possibility of walking the indirect path, where you just allow yourself to kind of just surrender to life. You just show up, and whatever's present, whatever neuroses you still hold, whatever fantasies you still engage with, whatever beliefs and whatever attachments and fears are still present in your being, you just allow for that to create your life and you no longer resist it. So then all kinds of story will form, all kinds of disturbances in the field will come your way, and you just allow yourself to ride them out. It's as if you're perpetually allowing yourself to be on a roller coaster ride. And through that, you actually end up coming to a deeper sensation of that oneness within, because in that way of being, of the back and forth all the time, and the chaos and the waves and the structure and the breathing in and the breathing out, rather than the one pointedness where you're just in the center of nothingness, in the pure potential space, you are in the oscillation, in the back and forth. And in being in that back and forth, you see more deeply what is preferable to you. You learn about who you are and what you want and how you want to expand and how you want to grow due to the contrast you experience. Whereas in the direct path, you look directly at the contrast and you examine it in such a way that you say, is this contrast real? Is it something that is a reflection of the everlasting truth? So that's what I mean by whatever you do, do it with God. The intention, whether you take the direct path of looking inward at yourself and dissolving everything that is out of alignment with the truth of oneness, or you take the path of just complete surrender and you go on the roller coaster ride of life, do that with God. If you are doing it with the intention of, I'm going to be with the oneness, with the all, then it will bring you there, no doubt. And so that's what it meant for me to, whatever I do, do it with God, whether I choose to engage in the human realm with all of its joys and all of its pleasures and all of its sufferings, or if I choose to just sit and be in silence and also carry that outward in such a way that I'm indifferent to everything I experience. Whatever I'm doing, if I'm choosing one of those paths, I'm doing it with the intention of being with divinity, being with truth, being with love. So that's what I meant by that. There's time for a sip of tea, oh my God, look at all these questions or comments. I'm so happy you're all here. Ah, I'm looking at the names. God King Soup. I'm curious who that is because they know Cyril, so which means they might know me from my old life as well. Sean. Beautiful. Yeah, Brett is truly lovely and sweet. Okay, Cyril. Just want to drop in before bed and I say love you, Michael. Miss you very much. I'm proud of you and your journey. Oh, thank you, Cyril. Oh man. I want to reconnect with you now. I hope you have a lovely sleep, my friend. Okay. Nick Strick is God King Soup. Cool. Aha, more Lab City crew. Hmm. Okay. All right. Oh, that was the only question. All right. Well, I'm going to drink more tea. Um, yeah. What's on your hearts? What's on your minds? And as I said in my advertisement, I'm here to discuss all things truth, love, God, freedom, heaven. These are the topics that, in a way, to me, are all the same in a certain sense. And but they're also different facets of the same thing. So I love to speak on all of this. And truth to me is just what is what is the everlasting knowing? What remains in existence, no matter what time period we're in, what emerges from consciousness, no matter what the circumstances. Aldous Huxley referred to it as the perennial philosophy. And for any of you that are gardeners, you'll know that perennial plants are the ones that you only have to plant once and then they just keep coming back. So the perennial philosophy is that which keeps coming back no matter what. And so through all faiths all around the world and all traditions and all cultures and societies, there are those that emerge in those that all come back to the same one truth, which is there's a divinity of which we are a part and which we return to in a sense, and also that which we never leave. It's the awareness of oneness, the awareness of all that is being one divine force, one divine presence, one divine process. And we are that. So this perennial philosophy to me is the truth. And it, one thing that I stated in the video I made earlier is that it cannot be spoken in words. Even the words I'm saying now aren't 100% true, so to speak. I can only point to this. What the truth is an experience. So, okay, we got something here. Nick says, I'm curious as to what you think of war, especially given its context. Oh, in the Gita. Oh man, it's so funny. I was so prepared to see a big question that when I scanned that, I saw Gaza instead of Giza. I'm like, oh boy, you're really throwing the big ones at me. And then you said, but that might be way off the path at the moment. Maybe we can discuss it another time. Let me sit with it. Okay, curious what you think of war, especially given in its context in the Gita. So, okay, yeah, referring to the Bhagavad Gita, which is a Hindu text. In a sense, it's like their most, I don't know, prominent text, I suppose. And for those who don't know, it is a story of a man who is an archer, a great warrior, who is about to go to war, and his chariot driver is the god Krishna or the avatar. He is the god in human form. He's similar to the Christian um, Jesus. It's God taking human form to be there with the people. So Krishna comes to earth to be with the people, and his purpose is to be essentially a reminder of what is true and a guide for humanity to sustain them. I think he might be actually a, what would you say, an avatar or an incarnation of Vishnu, which also in the Hindu faith is the god of, he's the sustainer. So there's the creator, there's the destroyer, and there's the sustainer. So Krishna came as with the purpose to sustain humanity. And so the war that's taking place is actually a war among families in this story. And so the war is happening because one of the families falls out of alignment with what is true, becomes very greedy, becomes very selfish. And then there's a war between these two families and kings. And Krishna and Arjuna go out onto the battlefield, and Arjuna basically breaks down and says, I don't want to fight because this is my family. These are my cousins, my uncles, my brothers. Like, how can I fight these people? And Krishna basically encourages them to do so and says it's a just war. And so, what did you say? Curious what you think of war, especially given its context in the Gita. So, I guess, okay, what do I think of that war? I guess I see everything from the absolute perspective. Everything is necessary. Everything is perfect. Everything is part of the unfolding of reality, of God, of all that is. It in order for anything to exist, everything has to exist. If you want a thing to exist, its opposite has to exist as well. So in order for there to be peace anywhere in the universe, in order for peace to be experienced, there needs to be something we call war, something we call conflict, something we call battle. Otherwise, we would not know what peace is. And this is just one of the fundamental truths of reality, is that if something needs to be experienced, its opposite needs to be experienced as well. Not in every moment per se, but in some form. So the war that's taking place in the Gita is when a community of people, a society of people get divided amongst themselves. One of them gets lost in the untruth, so to speak. They forget that they are one with God and that they're one with their brothers and sisters. So they end up warring against themselves, and then they end up going to war with others that are their family, and they compete for what they think is valuable, whether it's resources or land or power. And so Krishna encourages Arjuna to go to war because the war is here. So it's Krishna has this feeling of, I don't want to murder anybody, I don't want to kill anybody. And Krishna, even in the very first words he says in the Gita, in response to Arjuna, is, your sorrow is sheer delusion. And what he means essentially is that even if you were to kill your brothers, the form of this being that is against you and is coming at you with a sword, you would be killing no one, because in our true essence, in our true soul, we cannot die. Our truest essence of who we are is immortal and indestructible and cannot be harmed. And we are not limited to these bodies. So this war is kind of a play that happens on the field of life, on the stage of life, for us to understand the different qualities of being. And so, yeah, I don't know. I guess there's many different ways I could go with that. When I guess I also noticed that when questions are structured that way, like, what do you think of? I'm like, okay, I think lots of things about the Gita and about war. Um, so let me take a breath here. I'm just going to let my mind settle for a second and see if there's anything that feels necessary and pertinent to share about war in general or about the war that is present in that story. Okay, so war is a physical manifestation of imbalance or of conflict or distortion of what is true. So, war only comes about in a society when the consciousness of the beings present in that society or in that world or the collective consciousness in general has not integrated its full self into know and value both its light and its dark. We on this planet, for example, for a long time, have vilified the dark. We see the darkness as evil. We see aspects of reality, aspects of God even, as bad. And in condemning any part of the totality of reality as bad, you, in your consciousness, shut yourself off from it and try to separate yourself from it. And when the infinite energy of God or divinity, which is an infinite powerful energy, gets fragmented into parts due to the mind that is creating with this power, then what happens is that it amplifies itself into its biggest expression. So if you in your life see anything as bad or evil and you condemn it and you say, I want no part of that, I don't want to think about it, I don't want it anywhere near me, and you just hold it in your consciousness as bad, you are holding an aspect of the totality, which is God, which is the perfection of reality, as bad. And therefore, it will do whatever it can to gain your love again. So then it's kind of like a crying child. If you neglect a child because you've been bad, you go get in the corner or whatever, you neglect it and you push it away, then it will throw a tantrum in order to regain your love. So consciousness does that on every level, and that's an expression of war. That's what war is consciousness saying, you've condemned me. I am God too. The darkness is God too. The unknown, the uncertainty. We've said we've become so we've been so focused on knowing that we've been so focused on material and so focused on pleasure and positivity and all the things that we think are good to us that we condemn the other parts. We've been so focused on creation that we condemn destruction, forgetting that destruction is a necessary part of the process and that it is equally valuable. So when we condemn the dark or the feminine, so to speak, the void, the potential, when we condemn that aspect of reality, it will create chaos in our world that we are trying to hold in structure in such a way that it feels like it's trying to destroy it. And then there will be conflict. So the way to dissolve war, so to speak, is to dissolve that which in yourself is at conflict with itself. And if every single being on the planet had this intention to love all aspects of their being, to love the unknown, to love the fear, to love the parts that are scared and lonely, to love the parts that are filled with anger, if we accepted all of those parts and understood that they are necessary components of the tapestry of reality, then they would be integrated into our being in such a way that they would be used to serve the good and serve expansion and serve oneness. So if we were able to take, so to speak, like the world leaders, or even not only at this time but in the Gita as well, if we were able to take them and sit with them in such a way and communicate with them in such a way and love them in such a way that they were able to see that every part of them is valuable and they're already whole and they're already everything they need to be and they don't need to hoard and there's nothing to fear and they are with God all at all times and there's nothing that needs to be done in order to gain some sense of power, some sense of love, some sense of completeness. If they knew in their being that that was already there, they would never commit war, they would never commit atrocity. So what we're seeing in our world right now on many scales is the rising of consciousness. The light is rising so much that whatever we see as the opposite of that is also rising to say, pay attention to me. So I saw this video the other day. It was really heartbreaking. It was a side by side comparison of what's happening in Gaza. Well, actually, I don't even know. I assume it was in Gaza. It was children dying, basically, and children being brutally harmed. And then on top of that was a clip from the Met Gala, which is a party in the United States where everyone dresses really pretty. And I saw their faces of the celebrities, and they didn't look happy at all. And what it told my soul viscerally is that these are like the consciousness, it's like the little child consciousness expressing itself in this really dark, empty way. Like when I looked at this celebrity's eyes, she looked so empty. And it was like she was begging us to come back home. She's like, how far into the dark do I have to go before you will let me come back? It was as if she was just dying to be back in the warmth of presence, in the warmth of God, in the warmth of love. And I didn't see her as like a bad celebrity who was greedy and she just likes dressing up. It was like the consciousness, the soul was like, I have taken on this role to represent to you what can happen when you forget about the dark and when you neglect and condemn the darkness. This is what happens. I end up caring so much about looking pretty on a red carpet while at the same time children are dying. And it was as if her soul was just begging me to love her. And it really just, oh, it really touched my heart really deeply. Ah, thank you for hearing me. Wow. Okay. I'm gonna take a breath again, drink some tea. Thank you for that question, Nick. That really sparked a lot in me. Oh, thank you, brother. Oh, yeah. It's really important. I uh I was making a couple videos yesterday, and the one I made first that I haven't published because I want to expand more on it. I actually might write about it because I think I could be more articulate about it. Is dealing with the statement of everything is perfect. You know, I first encountered this through a guru that Ram Dass used to follow named Neem Karoli Baba. He used to say to Ram Dass all the time, "Don't you see it's all perfect?" And I encountered this phrase at a time in my life where I understood that. I had that visceral experience myself. So when I heard that, I was like, oh, yes, everything is perfect. And it isn't to say everything is good or everything is desirable and that nothing should change. It is to say that it's almost as if, in order for anything to change, we have to accept it as it is first. If our consciousness continues to condemn part of reality, then we will continue to fragment reality into two parts that will battle each other. It is only when we understand the union of reality, the dark and the light are a dance. When we love that dance, it dances in ways that are beautiful. It's everything becomes a challenge rather than a problem. It's kind of like the way in which I often use this analogy. When you go to the gym, you are burning your muscles, you're lifting something that actually burns and there's pain and there's discomfort. But for me, I love it. And when I'm sore the next day, I feel it. I'm like, "Oh, I can feel my muscles and they're so sore and it hurts." But it's a challenge that I embrace. And to go and climb a tree makes me winded and my lungs are stressed. But then I grow and then I can climb the tree better the next day. It's understanding that conflict, that contrast, that tension, that pull of two parts to be pulled apart to come back together is all a part of the process of creation. And when we understand that every expression of it is just that, what we see as war, what we see as destruction, that is an expression of that same quality. And we are condemning that quality when in reality, that quality has just got so polarized because of our condemnation of it. And when we begin to accept it as, wow, war is there because it has a function. It's showing us something. It's teaching us something. And when we appreciate that it's teaching us something, then we can learn what it has to teach us. And then we can grow in such a way that we have no more war. And that's the only way. That's truly the only way. We can go find the bad guys and kill them all. And we all know what happens when that happens. More bad guys just pop up in their place. And that's just the way it's going to be. If we keep thinking we have to squash out evil, we have to burn away evil and make evil go away, evil will just keep getting louder and louder and more powerful, because every time we squash it out, all that energy we throw at it to kill it gives it more power, and then it comes back at us twice as hard. So we have to make friends with the dark. We have to make friends with fear. We have to make friends with the unknown. This is the only way we truly find peace in ourselves and on the earth. Whoo! Okay. Breath, 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 breath. Mm. Oh, oh man, I'm buzzing. My head is just buzzing. Got anything else? Give me more. I love questions, man. And just a friendly reminder to take everything I say with a grain of salt. I am not the arbiter of truth. I am simply a man who is in touch with my own truth, and it comes through my filtration system, and it is flawed and it is limited. It only points in a certain direction. I encourage you all to seek truth within yourself and challenge everything I say within yourself to see if it's true for you. Otherwise, it'll never actually be integrated. If you just see me as someone who speaks truth and you're like, oh, Mike says this, and then all of a sudden you take it on, if you don't know it yourself, you're screwed. You're just going to end up repeating the same cycle. And then it's never going to be truly known by you. So I'm a teacher in the sense that I'm a reminder. I'm saying what I see and I'm offering it as a gift to you. And you take it in and you sit with it and you weigh it and you examine it and you see if it resonates with your soul. And then it might lead you to something. And I have my teachers and my reminders that do the same for me. Don't forget to breathe, brother. Yeah. Okay. Did I miss anything? Thank you. How do you process any dislike or aversion you feel towards others? Okay, I'm going to go down and read everything else. Okay, I'm going to come to your comment after Andrea because I'd like to explore whatever it is you're saying. Okay. Ooh, oh, that's a good one too. All right. So Nick said, how do I process any dislike or aversion I feel towards others? Oh, oh boy. Well, I guess I feel very blessed to have encountered many times my absolute humility. I am nothing and no one. Relative to anybody else, I'm no better, no worse. We're all one. Easy answer. That's the easy answer. Is that I never forget that. Triggers me. I'm like, oh, they're triggering something to me. I know it's me. Somebody does something that makes me mad. Oh my God. Even today, I encountered somebody shared something with me where somebody posted something and I read it and it was like, we are not all one. And then he said it was a psyop of the new age. And I was like, oh my God, this guy. And then at first I was like, oh, man, he don't know. He don't know what he's talking about and blah, blah, blah. And so, yeah, I didn't even bother to react. I just watched myself react. And then just I didn't care to respond with like, no, he's wrong and he don't understand what he's talking about. And if he only knew and blah, blah, blah. Because in a sense, he's right. Everything is true and nothing is true. Okay, I got to give you something better than that. How do I process version towards others? Yeah, humility is the main thing. I feel very blessed to have loathed myself most of my life, because in that self-loathing, I allow myself to go into the deep dark pit of like self-hatred and self-loathing to the point that I'm like, okay, what if I am worthless? What if nobody ever likes me ever again? Because I had to face it. Like it just felt like a reality to me that the world didn't like me and that I was no good and stuff. So I let myself feel what that felt like, and in accepting it, I felt free. I'm like, okay, what if nobody ever likes me again? I'm like, oh, what if that's true? And I just let myself accept it, and I felt freedom. And then so I had a sense of freedom that came from the idea that I don't have any value, that there's no meaning to my life. And that's another one of those absolute truths that exists only in the absolute where it's all one, because in order for there to be meaning or value, you have to have something that doesn't have value or that doesn't have meaning. So in the absolute where we're all one, there's no such thing as meaning because there's no such thing as the opposite of that. There's no such thing as value because there's no such thing as the opposite of that. So residing in that space, you would think it's empty and dark and cold, but it's actually the essence of it is love. And it's not love in the sense of subject object love of I love that, I love you, I love this. It's just the experience of love. When I see myself as nothing and no one, and Michael is just a figment of the imagination of the infinite source, then I feel love. I'm experiencing love. I recognize I am love, and that's what everything is made of. So when I have an aversion towards others, I'm just like, let them be who they are, man. They're love too. And the mind might say something, but they have to change because they're bad in this world and they're doing something bad to me. And again, that's where I get humility. I'm like, they can try anything they want to me because I'm a whole being. There's no harm they can do to me. They can even harm my body and I'll be okay. Like my soul, I really identify with my soul, if anything. I don't see myself as an individual being that's only lives one life. I see myself as all that is, expressing itself through one perspective. So aversion is very rare. I'm very rarely averse to other beings. I'm averse to some ideas when people feel like they're saying things that aren't true, and I think I know the truth. And then I'm like, I don't know the truth. I don't know anything. I always kind of disarm any aversion or any separation with absolute truths. When I think I know the truth, I say I don't know anything. When I think I'm better than someone, I'm like I'm nothing and no one. When I think somebody is bad, there's no good or bad. Like that's how I do it um, at a fundamental level. So this is where I would welcome you if you actually want to explore this, because I recognize just saying those truths don't necessarily just negate and dissolve all of the aversion we experience. This is where practice comes in. So this is why I'm also here, not just to answer questions, but I'm here to guide people on their path and work with them on their path to come to this space. So Nick, if you ever want to explore that together, let's talk and we can see where your aversion arise from, if that's something that you experience as well. Okay, where do we go from here? Don't follow, escape some sorrow. Okay. Okay, Andrea, I hope you're still here. Okay. I believe that as consciousness rises, these contrasts will become more, as you said, like challenges rather than problems toward changes. Absolutely, 100%. How do you suggest we stand up? Okay, I have a visceral, like automatic reaction to that right away, which I'll explore and see if it expands because I've answered this question before. Okay, first a breath. Holy moly. See how fired up I get when I answer questions? I fucking love it, man. I know I'm going to have to like really slow down after this. What time do we got? Okay, we're still got about 20 minutes. I'll go longer if people want to. I don't really care. Okay. How do you suggest we stand up? Okay. Stand up. Ooh. Okay. Internally is the number one. There's 3 points of which I've explored before. I'll tell you a quick little story. I have a student who's 17 years old, and he's very active in the world, and he wants to make change. And we have beautiful conversations about the world and how to change it. And one day he asked me if I voted in the election. There was a local election, and I was like, no, I didn't. And then the following week, before we even started, he said, "How do you expect change or political change to happen in this world?" And I said, "Am I to assume that you're asking me this because I told you last week that I didn't vote?" And he said, "Yes." And so I sat with that question. I came up with 3 points. Okay. Number one is internal work. Everything you see out here, everything you experience in reality is a reflection of your reality, your internal reality. We are the creators. If we hold dissonance hatred, fear in our being, then it will show up to say, hello, I'm here. I'm in you. So integrate me, love me, so you can make peace with me and let me go. And then I'll stop showing up in your external reality. So, number one always is internal work. Number two was be the truth, speak the truth, tell the truth. If you see injustice, if you see untruth, talk about it. So, if you see something happening and you feel fire in your being that this is not right, and even though, like I was saying, that, the absolute truth, there's no wrong or right. While I do see that as true, we're not only operating from the absolute. We're multidimensional beings. We exist on multidimensions, and we have to honor every dimension. So there's plenty of times where I see things, and I'm like, that is wrong, and I got to speak about it, and I get fired up, and I let myself do it. So if you see something that is out of alignment with what is true, if you see your fellow beings, if you see your brothers and sisters walking towards a cliff, tell them. If you see them doing something that you know is not in their best interest, especially if they claim to want otherwise, like a simple idea is like if somebody's talking all the time, like saying to you, I really want a healthier body, I really want to feel better, and then you see them smoking cigarettes, for an extreme example, then tell them that that's not going to help their healthy body. So if you see the political world doing something that perpetuates division, then have a voice about it. Stand up and speak about it, and own your truth. Own your truth within and share it outwards in any form that you feel is necessary. What was the third point? So, internal work. Be what you want to see. Gandhi. Number two, speak the truth. Oh, this is a fun one. Create something new. So this is what I'm really focused on these days is create a society. The society I see out there, I don't have any interest in changing it. Um, I know that I'm not going to be able to change it by running for Congress or becoming the mayor. Like, let's be real. That doesn't actually change things. I could get in there and nothing real is going to happen. We might get some better conditions for some people in some places, but what is really necessary is a foundational shift of what is true and what is real. So it's important for us as conscious beings to band together and create that which reflects the truth that we know. And then also commit to finding that truth more and more in our everyday life. And so, again, another Gandhi quote. Somebody approached him and said, um, Gandhi, you once were quoted saying this, and now you say this. How can you reconcile these two things that you said? And very simply, he just said, my commitment is to truth, not to consistency. So it's important for us to be able to let go of our truth if we find new evidence that it's not real. So it's not so much that you hold your truth for all time. You see your truth, what's there in the moment, and you live it to the fullest extent. And if you find evidence that it's not accurate, then you shift it and you change it. So we as a collective, we as conscious beings, I think it's imperative if we actually want to change the world and stand up, so to speak, stand out and change anything, we need to create something that we can live with. And then also we can demonstrate to the other beings on our planet that there's a way to live in abundance and a way to live in harmony with nature. Because right now, our whole system is based on scarcity and our whole system is based on separation. That's the nature of our system. It's not that it's bad, it's just what we've evolved from. We evolved, let's say we evolved from apes. I don't even know if that's true. Who knows? But I think there was maybe some intervention at some point, but maybe we're still ape-like creatures. Either way, we evolved from a condition of scarcity where there wasn't enough fruit trees around or there wasn't enough mates. So we actually did have to compete. But then we became so innovative that we started coming up with ways to create abundance for ourselves. And we found ways to work with nature to perpetuate a state of abundance. But people became so fearful of things changing like that because you really got to live in truth every day. So we evolved from a state of fear and separation and competition, and it just carried on over time into our evolution. And we also go through cycles of like enlightenment where we actually see our true nature, we live in harmony with nature. And then, but when things become so easy, we become spoiled in a sense that we don't have to think as much anymore. And it's just the natural cycle things of expansion and awareness and then contraction. So that happens on a global scale as well, on a humanity scale. So we need to come together, Create things that will actually contribute to our sense of abundance, our awareness of abundance, the reality of our abundance within, because our true soul is abundant, our true soul is whole. We need to live in such a way that reflects that. So we come together in nature, we live in structures that are made out of natural materials, we grow food that is natural, we don't add any poisonous chemicals, we keep our water clean, and we sit together and we talk about love and truth, and we dissolve whatever ego bits we have that keep us separate, and we keep exploring this, and we be an example for that. And if we can live that way truthfully, we will create more than what we need. And then we can advertise it to the rest of the world and be, look, this is how we can live. And then more people will come. But if they don't want to live in truth, it'll become very evident very quickly that what's required for them to live that way will not be present in them. And they will have to go and do some more work before they'll actually resonate with us. It's not that we even have to kick them out, so to speak. It's just that they will kick themselves out because they won't want to live in truth all the time. So that's the 3 points. Internal work is number one, always. Whatever you see out there is a reflection of you, so work on yourself. Number 2, speak the truth. Tell the people around you what's true. Stand up in your truth. Do not be afraid to say what is true. And number 3 is create something new. Create a new society. Do whatever you can to create what you see as heaven on earth. And then as that vision becomes closer and closer, it will unfold anew. And you'll have a higher vision. And it'll just keep growing and growing. And you just keep committing to it no matter where it goes. Okay. I search for truth. Doesn't feel right. Sit back and watch. How do you see your role in responding to these atrocities? Okay. Okay, let me sit with that again. Because I know I touched on it a little bit, but maybe I could speak more to that specific idea of the atrocities. So give me a second. Okay. You already feel clarity? Okay, good. Yeah. Yeah, I guess even just for me to expand on it for anybody else that would like an expansion, is speaking truth to the psyche, speaking truth to how humans operate. When we see atrocities happen, it's not enough for us to just say they're atrocities or that they're bad and just condemn them. We have to say, how did this happen? And explore that together. Offer what we see. I'm offering what I see. I think I know why we have war, as I've stated earlier. And I'm sure there's more I could learn always, but uh, speak to what you see. And then if somebody comes back and says, but this, then let it sink in and see if it's resonant to you and refine your truth over and over and over again. But we need to stop, we need to address root issues. We kind of treat the world and the way we see bad things happen in the same way we see medicine and like allopathic medicine, that everything we treat symptoms, we don't treat root causes. And I don't want to cover it with that blanket. And I don't want to condemn that either because allopathic medicine has its place and it's beautiful in some ways. But that being said, the the pattern that has gotten out of control is that we treat symptoms. If we have a headache, we take a pill that makes the headache less there. We make it less perceptible. We numb and desaturate the receptors so we don't feel the pain as much. Rather than saying, "Why do I have this headache? Is there a reason why this came about? Am I holding something in my energy body, in my mental body, in my emotional body that continues to contribute to imbalance and dissonance and discord? Am I eating a food that is bad for my body? Am I spending too much time around electromagnetic frequencies that change the vibration of my cells?" There's a million questions we could ask to come to a resolution as to how to improve the headache rather than just taking the pill, right? And again, these aren't judgments on anybody who lives this way. It's just simply, in order for us to make true change, we have to look at root causes. We have to look at what causes the very root of something, not the symptomology, not how it expresses itself. War is a symptom of fear consciousness. War is a symptom. Atrocity is a symptom of separation consciousness, of the forgetting in its extreme that we are divine and that we are whole. and that we don't need to do anything to be anything or be anyone to be worthy of love. Love is already here. God's love is already here. The divine love is already present in every single moment. That's never not true. Never. We can have the experience of it being true. We can experience that we are not connected to love. We can experience what it's like to be separate from God, to be separate from our home. I mean, that's part of why we came here, to know that separation. So even that is beautiful. And so that's why it's helpful to appreciate that. Even the separation should be honored and should be appreciated because we chose it. We chose it as conscious souls, as aspects of the divine, to know itself experientially. Because in the pure knowing, in the essence of the absolute, there's only knowing. There's only knowing. There's no experience of it. And though that is the highest bliss, so to speak, just the pure knowing, it's also something that doesn't exist without its counterpart. You know, all these balances, all these polarities, they all need to exist for all of it to exist. Yeah, I think that's all I'll say for that. Oh, I love you too, Nick. Ah, this is so fun and so joyful to explore these ideas with you. And I feel your presence, even though I don't see your faces. I think I know everyone here. Yeah, I do. Uh, and it's so fun because it's like by being just in this truth, it's like I'm connecting to just the soul part of you. Like, not to say that I don't want to connect to the other parts. They're beautiful expressions of the divine, and I love everything. I love all the diversity of life. Um, but in seeing truth, sometimes it can be murky when I'm in the presence of others because other faculties of being come online, which serve different purposes. And so, thank you for humoring me in this position that I hold or I play, this role that I play as reminder or teacher or guide, because it speaks to my essence. The essence of Michael is one that wants to speak truth to the masses. And so it's a great honor that you've gifted me with this opportunity. So thank you so much. I'll stick around a little bit longer. Still got 5 minutes till five, and like I said, I'll go longer if anybody wants to explore anything else. Again, truth, love, freedom, God, heaven, uh, or just who you are, what you're experiencing in your life. Just any query or wonder that arises in you, anything you might want more clarity on, more expansion with. I'm willing to go anywhere. I can't guarantee I'll have the answer, but I'll do my best. Hmm. I will, Andrea. No doubt. Okay. There's no other questions, things to explore. I welcome you to join me in a closing meditation. Oh, oh. Okay. I might save that one for next time because I could speak a lot on that. quasi-psychedelic. I don't even know what you mean by that. Visions or meaningful dreams that were clearly more than a dream, relevant to a particular moment in what? That heart blocks the stream of reality? Yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, definitely. Yes. Yes. Short answer is yes, Nick. Yeah. Plant medicines have definitely aided on my journey of understanding. Deep meditations, breathwork practices have opened up my consciousness in ways that go beyond the reductionist thinking mind. And I have definitely had what I would consider visions, what I would even consider experiences of parallel realities, whether they were past or present. I don't really know. I don't have much recollection of time frames, but I've been other beings. I've I merged with what would be referred to as the Akashic records, which is the space of all that is, where I recognized that I had access to everything that is, in a sense that all it would take in that state of being was for me to have a desire to know something and I could know it instantly. And so I've experienced that as well. And I would say that experience was probably what really solidified this knowing that I have, this certainty that I have of all the things I share. Because in that space, there's no doubt, there's no wondering, there's no question. And even if a question arises, the answer and its negation is dissolved in the presence of truth immediately. So yeah, I've had quite a few experiences, both with psychedelics and without, that show me, what does he say, that relevant to a particular moment in the stream. Oh yeah, definitely. Seeing the patterns of reality is often a theme with experiences such as that. I would have, even in the dream space, in remembering my dreams and allowing myself to feel them again, I'll see the symbols that arise that are an indicator of not only what's happening in my life, but what's happening in the lives around me and the world as a whole. I often feel that I have a very deep connection to the collective consciousness. Whatever I'm feeling or experiencing, I see everywhere. And I guess it's kind of a echo chamber kind of effect, you could say, or a confirmation bias. But I uh, I prefer to see it the other way, and it feels too. What would I say? Um, the odds are, the odds are just mind-boggling. Like, how could it be that? Like, it makes me question. Like, it can't be just a coincidence. So certain things, I'll see patterns in my life. I'll see it all around me, in people that are not even connected to me. It's almost as if it's the algorithm of reality. It's the algorithm of God. When you show your preferences on YouTube, it'll give you everything that you're desiring at that time, and it'll learn who you are and feed it to you. So I see that in my regular everyday reality as well. That whatever I'm experiencing comes up in my conversations without even me mentioning it. It comes up in what I encounter in other people's lives, what I'm seeing on the global stage. All of these things, I see the connections all the time. I see it's just one big giant web in perfect balance. Yeah. Okay. Happy to explore that more some other time, Nick. And it'd be great to connect with you one on one. It's been a long time. Okay, lovely beings. If you want to find a comfortable seated position, if you're not already there, let's bring ourselves back into the body and into the heart after spending some beautiful time in the mind space and exploring ideas, thanking our brains, thanking our logic and reason, thanking the faculties of the frontal cortex, showing deep gratitude for these parts that allow us to understand deeper truths and ways in which um, maybe other beings can't, not on an intellectual level at least. A way in which we can use to serve us and build and create and sustain, in a very big way, what I was referring to earlier, Vishnu, the Hindu god sustainer. He's often represented by the intellect, by the logic, because when we get lost in the experience of creation and destruction, um, If we don't know who we are in that, then it can be very fearful for everything to be ripped away and I don't know anything anymore. If we don't have the logic and reason and structure of reality that comes from absolute truth, that Vishnu is a representation of sustaining, then that's how we end up going into psychosis or a dark night of the soul or a spiritual emergency, so to speak. So it's important for us to use our minds in a way that practices truth and explores truth and studies truth. So let's thank that part of ourselves. Thank you, Vishnu. And then let's get a little bit more in touch with the dance of Shiva, Shakti, and of course, Brahman, the all that is. Just start taking some really long, slow, deep breaths. Noticing any buzzing, any agitation, any movements in the body, in the heart, any echoes of words and thoughts and concepts in the mind. Just letting your soft breath relax that process. Merely holding it and surrounding it with presence and the element of air to let it settle, dissipate. Welcome you to join me in some intentional breaths where we are going to use our will to guide our breath, followed by a spontaneous breathing where we will allow our breath to do whatever it pleases in response to our current state. So we're going to create a sense of harmony and structure and rhythm with our breath that will program our mind and our being to stay centered. So we're going to breathe in for 4 seconds. We're going to exhale for 6 seconds. And having a longer exhale allows us to feel and experience a state of relaxation and letting go. So here we go. We'll do this for maybe a minute or so. So just do it at your own pace. You don't have to follow me, but I'm going to count for myself. 4 seconds in, 6 seconds out. So just allow your breath now to respond to your body, respond to your heartbeat. Just respond naturally with no will involved. Let yourself surrender to its natural form. As we do this, let's just mentally and emotionally and psychically bring this session, this exploration to a close, bringing all of the parts of us that explored outwards into the unknown, energetically just welcoming it all back into us, picturing our torus field. We all exist within a torus field. If you're unfamiliar with this shape, it's similar to like a donut or an apple. You are the core of the apple. Your field extends beyond you. Staying centered in your field creates a sense of balance and awareness. It cultivates love and peace, agency and will. You are the decider of what you feel. You choose how you be. So, by welcoming all of that which went outside of you back into yourself, you're recentering your being, getting rooted in your body, feeling at home here, feeling all of the elements, rooted in the earth, feeling the movement of the energy, the fire, feeling the flow of the energy that moves through you and around you, the water and its cleansing power, and feeling the lightness of heart, feeling the lightness of being, the element of air, are all contained within you. You are an expression of the divine in all of its forms. Always remember. Thank you for remembering with me here today. It's with great gratitude that I bid you adieu. Until next time. Peace. Oh, 108. How beautiful is that? It was an hour and 8 minutes. Excellent. Peace, everybody. Love you guys.